Up next on We've Got Issues, Coquitlam councilor Craig Hodge, recent chair of Metro Vancouver's Zero Waste Conference, is in studio with Nancy Furness to talk about waste management.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and this is We've Got Issues. And we're filming today at Poirier Public Library in Coquitlam, and we'd like to thank the library for allowing us this space to carry out the interviews. Our interviews are also taking place on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of Coquitlam First Nation. We'd like to thank the Coquitlam people who continue to live on the lands and to care for the lands and all that lies above and below. So I'm joined today by City Councilor Craig Hodge, who's a councillor in Coquitlam. And so welcome today, Craig, and thanks for joining us.
And thanks for having me, and once again, thank you for doing that land acknowledgement. It's so important that we recognize our First Nations partners here.
Oh, thank you, and it's important to us as well, so appreciate that. Craig, you are a Coquitlam City Councillor, but you wear so many different hats. I just want to talk today about something that people don't usually talk about, and that's waste management. You have a role as the Vice Chair of the Metro Vancouver Zero Waste Committee. Can you tell us what are your responsibilities there?
So Metro Vancouver is responsible for managing and disposal of waste for the entire region. We do that in partnership with local municipalities that are responsible for picking up curbside. And we also work closely with outside organizations such as Recycle BC that is responsible for the recycling side of things. Once material is collected, it's taken to one of our transfer stations. We have one here in Coquitlam on United Boulevard. There's several throughout the region. And from there, material is either taken to be landfilled out in Delta at the Vancouver landfill, or it's disposed of at the waste-to-energy facility in Burnaby, and a small amount of it is transferred to a contingency landfill down in the United States.
Okay, it's interesting though, I've visited the waste facility up on United Boulevard a number of times, and it is really well laid out, and so folks can also take their recycling directly there themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, the whole objective is not to take it to the landfill, the waste to energy, or to ship it out of province. So what we're really trying to do is to stop waste in the first place. And so right now, Metro Vancouver has a waste diversion rate of 64%, 65%, I think is what we're at now, which is one of the best in North America. Mm-hmm. So we're really doing a good job here. In Coquitlam, it's actually 69%, wow. So we're actually doing better. We're actually ahead of the curve, and we're aiming for higher, both in Coquitlam, but also as a region. A lot of that is done through education, and the number of campaigns that Metro Vancouver runs. You may have seen the Think Thrice campaign, the Make Memories at Christmas, Not Garbage. The food is not garbage. The little characters, the food characters that are saying, don't put us in the garbage. So the whole idea is to divert waste from the waste stream, whether it's through recycling, whether it's through reuse, such as repairing, and put it back into the circular economy. So that is really why we call our committee the Zero Waste Committee, is we're really trying to stop the creation of waste in the first place.
Right, and it's a big job, but lots of opportunities as well. I think you also are the chair of the National Zero Waste Council. Can you talk about how some of those national strategies affect us here in Coquitlam?
Yeah, absolutely. And the National Zero Waste Council was started, I think, about 12 years ago by Metro Vancouver in conjunction with other partners. And what we realized is that municipalities are responsible for getting rid of the waste, but we need help with preventing it in the first place. So we thought, let's look and see what we can do at the national level to prevent waste from being created at its source. Now that's for things like reducing packaging, reducing plastics, making sure that food that is produced is actually consumed. 50% of the food produced in this province is never eaten through human consumption. So we thought that let's try to see what we can tackle at the front end, things outside of our community. Some of it requires government intervention at the
like
national level. Policy, something as simple as the right to repair. Like we can't control what products come into the country, and what manufacturers put special screws in their product and then don't sell anybody the screwdriver that will open the product to fix it. Right. So those are things that need to be tackled at a national level. The plastics is a real issue. Again, it needs to be tackled at the national level, because let's not create the plastic in the first place. There's a limited amount that we can recycle things. So the best option is let's just not make the stuff at the beginning. So the whole idea of the National Council was to try to stop waste creation at its source.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting, and what a great place to start.
Yeah.
Right? So you've talked about a little bit about food waste and about the plastic, manufacturing far too much plastic. Can you tell us what is the most significant zero waste challenge right here in Coquitlam?
Well, I think in Coquitlam, what we're seeing is we've got good numbers in terms of our diversion. Where we are seeing just about in every city is that we could do better in the multifamily homes. People who live in multifamily homes aren't doing as good a job as recycling and disposal. Townhouses, apartments. Okay. The numbers show that there is more room for improvements there. And the thing about waste diversion and recycling is you have to make it easy and convenient.
Right.
People want to do the right thing, but we have to assist, and we have to try to make it easier, and we have to reach out to people that are in apartments and sort of say maybe they're producing less waste than a house, but it all adds up. So we have to try to make sure that what they're using, make sure that they're using all the food that they're buying, not putting it into the waste. And if it is going into the waste, yeah, it's kind of yucky carrying that green bag of waste down to the basement, but that is still better than putting it into the regular garbage. So we have some work to do there. The other thing is that we want to make sure that that the people who live in those multi-family complexes have the same opportunities that single family. They don't pay as ratepayers into the solid waste management right now. Quite often it's stratas. So we have to look and sort of say, are there some things that we can do with the stratas to help them to lower the waste rates? Such things as the large item pickup. That's not eligible if you're living in a townhouse complex. But so
that's things like couches
and things like that.
Mattresses.
And so how do we, maybe there's an opportunity there that we extend those programs to people that live in stratas that aren't paying into the solid waste utilities.
Right. No, that's a really good point. Can you talk about any other initiatives? Like that would be a great initiative to roll that in.
That's a great one. The other thing that I'd really like to explore is as we build more and more multifamily communities, whether it's townhouse complexes, and we do less single family, is there an opportunity to expand city services into those complexes?
As far as garbage pickup,
and recycling. Yeah. So it makes it a more uniform service. There might be some economic scale, some efficiencies there. Certainly when it comes to managing wildlife and bears, then we could sort of help in those areas. So I think that there may be some opportunities in the future to at least explore the possibilities of working with our stratas so that we can maybe expand the city services into some of those complexes.
Yeah, there's lots of room, and as we densify, that's going to become a bigger issue and a greater opportunity as well.
Yeah.
How do you find a balance? Like you want to reduce waste, and you also have the practical side of things. We know that it's not 100%, we're not 100% there yet. How do you balance, what you want to achieve versus what's practical for businesses and Coquitlam residents?
Well, ideally, we'd like to get to zero waste. Did you know that after building and after transportation, waste is the third largest contributor to greenhouse gas? So there's a real area that we can work on. If we're going to try to achieve net zero by 2050, We
That's
have to,
the goal?
That's
Net
the
zero
goal.
by
And that's, yeah, so
2050.
that's what we're aiming for.
Okay.
So if we're going to aim for that, we have to also not just worry about transportation and the built environment, we also have to worry about the waste side of things.
Yeah.
So there's some opportunities there to reduce waste. Certainly the circular economy is key. We just had a conference in Vancouver 2 weeks ago now, where I was able to, as chair, speak at that. And we had some great speakers, and we were talking about ways that we can actually work together to create a more circular economy. This idea of take, make, and waste has to end. So we have to make sure that what we still extract from the earth is used in a circular economy and then put back into use, and not just used and then buried in a landfill.
Right, and there's so many opportunities, and I think you have been involved even in like taking houses and instead of deconstructing and demolishing, to actually move those houses, or maybe to deconstruct and use those materials again. So that's another huge area where we see big waste implications. So is there more of that maybe on that?
I think there's a great opportunity there. It's estimated that about a quarter of the homes in the lower mainland will be demolished in the next 20 years. Just to make room for new growth in the high density areas. The new government legislation may actually cause some homes to be demolished in areas we weren't counting on it, so that number may even become higher. Exactly. I know in Coquitlam, it's estimated there's about 600 homes just in the Coquitlam area that will be removed.
Wow.
And it's estimated that about a quarter of the homes that are demolished were actually good candidates to be moved. And moving homes, it keeps them out of a landfill. It doesn't make sense to be demolishing houses, especially when we're in the middle of a housing affordability crisis.
They've got good structure.
They've got great structure. Yeah. And you know, they're just in the wrong place right now. And there are places in British Columbia where there's a shortage of housing that those homes could be picked up and moved. If we can get them out of the neighborhoods and to tidal waters, once they get them onto a barge, they can go anywhere. And there's a lot of communities that are along the coast, many First Nations communities, that could use good built houses. And sometimes it's tough to get people and trades into some of these remote communities to build the houses. So if we can send them ready-built houses, it keeps them out of our landfill, and it gives new life to homes. A third of what goes into our landfills is construction and demolition waste.
Yeah, which is crazy. We actually had the opportunity to see some of those homes that were transported over to Sechelt last summer.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah, and
Renewal Homes is doing
Homes,
fantastic,
yes.
Fantastic work.
Yeah.
We at the city have moved 30 so far. We are working with companies like Renewal. One of the things that I had brought in with our organization was to look at ways to streamline the moving process, so that when a builder comes to take out a demolition permit, we'll be asking them, have you considered house moving?
That's awesome.
And then hook them up with the people that can do the moving. Now, not every home can be moved, but a quarter of them can. Those that can't, then we have to look at deconstruction. Right. Can the material be saved in some of those homes? Yes. I've moved a summer home that I own. I've moved a house myself. I've also, in one of when I did my house renovation, I looked for reclaimed wood that I could use in the house. Now, there's some challenges because it needs to be structurally certified, but those are some things that we need to work with the province and with the building industry to see if we can actually use this wood. It's great timber.
Well, it's seasoned and
it's seasoned. Some of it was original growth wood that was used in the 60s, and that wood is still good, and it should be used, not tossed into the landfill.
Well, and I think some of the homes that have been moved, they've actually raised them up and put another floor underneath, so they get like twice the space once they're moved to their new home too.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of ways to work with that. And it's wonderful to hear that Coquitlam is, you know, exploring this as well.
Well, one of the reasons Coquitlam is such a great location is that we had so many homes that were built in the 60s, and they were well maintained and they were looked after right up until the day that a developer knocked on the door and said, by the way, your property is worth a lot of money, so we would like to buy it. but they were looking after their homes. They were putting new roofs on the homes. They were putting in new windows. I've seen homes that have got marble countertops in them because people were expecting to live in them for many years, and they were caring for them.
Invested in them.
So they have a lot of life still in them, and so that's why they're so important. But the other thing is that many of those homes that were built in the 60s, they were built as one-story homes on raised basements. If you look at some of the homes, particularly the ones in Coquitlam, where you come in the front door and there's sort of a basement and everything in behind, and then you go up a set of stairs and there's all the living quarters on the top floor.
Yes.
Well, all the infrastructure is in that ceiling. So you can pick the whole house up, move it, and then put it onto a new basement somewhere, and now you've got a two-story home.
There's so many opportunities. You know, I just thank you so much for coming in and sharing some of that, and I can tell you're passionate about it, and there's lots of great things on the horizon as far as our sort of net zero waste, and let's hope we can get there by 2050. And I just want to thank you so much for coming in today, Craig, and I hope that we can talk again soon.
Well, thank you for having me. This is such an important topic. People don't often talk about waste, but it really is important. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Nancy Furness, and I've been speaking with City Councilor Craig Hodge from Coquitlam.